Hey guys, so today's guest is someone who didn't just find fitness, he needed it. After growing up in sports, playing football, he had a moment that a lot of high performing men quietly face. What happens when the structure disappears? For him, that transition came with its own set of struggles, but instead of staying stuck, he made a decision that would completely redefine his life. He replaced destructive patterns with something that would ultimately become his mission. Now he's a coach who's not just focused on reps and sets, he's focused on rebuilding people from the inside out. He's worked with everyone from beginners to athletes, but especially is helping people, especially those in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, to get stronger, move better, and reclaim control of their bodies and their lives. But what makes his story powerful is the evolution. He didn't become the trainer he thought he'd be. He became the one his clients actually needed. And through years of learning from his clients, pulling from multiple coaching philosophies, sharpening his lens through platforms like Mind Pump, he's built an approach rooted in strength, longevity, and real world function. And beyond the gym, he's a father of three, a man grounded in faith, and someone who truly believes that discipline in the gym is just the gateway to something bigger: leadership, legacy, and becoming the man your family needs you to be. So today we're going to dive into the hidden struggles of high performing men, the identity shifts that come with growth, and what it really means to build strength, not just physically, but in every area of our life. Ben Bostick, how you doing, man?
Great, man. I appreciate that elaborate introduction, man. That was awesome.
It's well
And it
deserving,
sounds good,
man.
man.
Well
It sounds
deserving.
great.
So before we get into the background, into your background in health and fitness, I want to start with how we actually met because it's not just one of those random things. Talk to me about your faith and how you've seen God use something like the gym to shape your life and connect people in ways that you probably never expected.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate y'all, taking time out of y'all's busy schedule to reach out to me and let me come on. So I really appreciate it. First off, how I met Lawrence. We are actually both in the Mind Pump trainers group. And I was, trying to connect with people on there. They had a Facebook forum for a while. And I just posted in the group, is anybody around the Knoxville area, anybody in the Tennessee area? And Lawrence said, "Oh, I'm in Knoxville," and I was not expecting anybody to say Knoxville. So, we got to talking a little bit, and we didn't even connect right then. I actually walked into the Davis Y, and Lawrence happened to be there, and I was like, "I know you. What's your name again, brother?" And we got to talking, and I was like, "Yeah, I've talked to you in the Mind Pump group," and that's how we originally met. And I don't even go there anymore, really. I actually canceled my Y membership, but it's crazy that God put Lawrence there at the same time I was walking in, and that connection just happened, and we've kind of just stayed in touch here and there. So it's been great, man. It's been good, and it was really nice meeting him. And what was the
I'll get to
second
that in a
question?
second. Let's talk about that. And we talked about this the other day. I think it's so crazy. I mean, I say crazy, but after you've followed God and really gotten deep in your faith, it's not really crazy. Like he just connects people in the craziest ways and most random ways. And like you said, like, I mean, how many times we see each other at the Y? Maybe like six times or something. And then now you're not even working out there. So it's like
Hmm.
obviously he wanted to put us together, connect us in some kind of way. And, I mean, I love stories like that. I think it's not a coincidence, it's God putting us together and saying, "Here, man, I want you to meet this guy. And you don't even worry about it right now. What's going to happen? Just it's going to work out in the long run, and I need you guys to get connected."
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly how it happened, man. You know, it's crazy, like the just everything that's happened in my life, to get me to this point. Uh, guess I'll dive into that real quick. So I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm the oldest of five kids. My mom and dad were always together. They still are. Been married over 30 years now. Uh, and I grew up playing sports. If I wasn't playing sports, I don't know what else there was to do. That's all I knew at the time was sports, man. So that was my identity. I didn't know it at the time, but that was my identity, right? So fast forward a little bit. Got to got to high school. I actually transferred to a private school, so I had to sit out my sophomore year, and this is 2006. So I had to sit out that sophomore season, and I was just itching to play, man. And I was transferred to play baseball and basketball. Football was not even in my mind. Last time I played football was sixth grade. So we got to baseball season. I had practiced with the basketball team the whole year, and I got to baseball season. I was kind of tired of just practicing and not being able to perform in the game. So I went and talked to the football coach, and I was like, "Man, if I play in the spring ball, if I do spring practice, can I play in the spring game? And he was like, absolutely. And I said, I'm playing football. So that's kind of how that came about, man. And ended up just, being good. And I excelled at it. And it kind of happened really, really fast. So that summer I started getting some looks. I didn't like create crazy noise just yet. I had a good junior season, excuse me. Had 80 receptions. Don't know how many yards, but 10 catches a game. We only played 8 games. I mean, I did pretty well. Did well enough to start getting looks from different schools and things like that. And Navy was the biggest school that hopped on. First game of my senior season, I actually tore all the ligaments in my ankle and broke my fibula. So all those scholarship looks and offers and all that stuff that was just off the table. So devastating. That's like I said, my identity was in football. So I mean, like I didn't know what to do. I know I had to, I wanted to really play football still. So by the grace of God, Navy stayed on me, and they ended up giving me a scholarship despite the injury. So I went to the Naval Academy prep school the next year after that. And long story short, I did not like that place. First week of boot camp, I called my mom and I was like, you got to get me out of here. I cannot stand this place, man. You got to get me out. And she was like, well, no, just stay there and, work through it. You know, th- you there for a reason. Like you can do it. Just keep pushing. So get through boot camp. It's better. We back in the football season now. So now I'm doing what I really came there to do. Did well throughout the year, maintained the 3.0, ended up being one of the platoon officers in my platoon. And then Memorial Day weekend, we all got to go home. I went and smoked with one of my friends right before that. Came back and got drug tested. And that was a week before we graduated. Then the Tuesday that we were supposed to graduate on Friday. That Tuesday, NCIS called me into the office and pushed the drug test papers in front of me and told me I failed it, right? So you can only imagine how crushing that was for me. I'm at this prestigious school, I'm supposed to be starting next year at the Naval Academy and, just a crushing blow. I got to tell my mama, my daddy, my 4 brothers and sisters that are all looking up to me, that I messed up. So the pressure started. I didn't quite know that's what it was, but it started then. So I went home for a semester. That's where I got introduced to training. I started at D1 sports training. It was when they first opened up. I think there was only 3 in the nation. It was Franklin, Birmingham, and Cincinnati at the time. So I was at the one in Birmingham, was there the fall of 2010. So stayed there for a little bit, and then one of my buddies I played basketball with in middle school called me and was telling me that he's going to a school called Campbellsville NAIA school in Kentucky. So I went there for a little bit, didn't look up the school or anything before I went. I just kind of jumped into it and did not like it. Couldn't stand it. One stoplight in the whole state in the whole city. It was just wasn't really my scene. I was so prideful at the time because I was ready to be. I thought I was supposed to be at a D1 school, and when I got demoted, you could say I felt like I was better than everybody, which was not the case, but that's how I felt. So when I didn't get my way during the season, I ended up quitting. So and once I quit, I was like, well, I can't go home. I'm a quitter. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, I'm gonna go to Lexington, and I'm just gonna party for a little bit, and then I'll go home whenever everything cools down. And what I thought was going to be a pit stop turned into, a whole 8 years of, just nighttime lifestyle. What started out as drinking ended up with, a whole lot of promiscuity and cocaine and all types of drugs and just trying to mask everything, not talk about nothing, just masking it all. And come first, before I say that, met my wife in 2019 on my birthday. And we started hanging out after that. And so during quarantine, fast forward to 2020, I think this was March 2020, my girlfriend, my wife now, went back home and my roommate, he left and he went to a cabin, had a little cabin party or something. So I'm just sitting there in my apartment, didn't have any more alcohol, didn't have any drugs, anything like that. And I was just sitting there in silence. I don't know what made me just sit there. I wasn't really practicing anything spiritually at the time, but I just was sitting there in silence and still to this day, I haven't heard the Holy Spirit talk to me as clearly as he did, man. But he was just like, you got to stop. You got to get up. You got to do something different. This is not, this, you can't live like this no more. So I said, all right. And immediately I turned on YouTube and found This dude named Bully Juice. I don't know if y'all heard of him, but found him online and he did a bunch of at-home workouts and it was all time based. It was like 10-minute, disc burner or whatever. So I started doing that stuff and I called my buddy that had been trying to get me to move to Knoxville for a few years. He was trying to get me to come start a moving company with him. So I was like, well, as much as I don't want to move to Knoxville being from Alabama, let's do it. So we moved up here and started Big Orange Moving. And it was fine. It went decently. Could have went a lot better. Ended up getting fired. And once that happened, I was like, well, I'm not going to work for anybody else. Um, During the time I was with the moving company, I started getting to the gym, and so that's really when I started feeling the difference. So in order to stop my drinking and everything, I replaced that with the gym. I kind of jumped all around on you. I'm going back real quick, but so we got here, and I started replacing alcohol with the gym, and as I kept going to the gym, I started to feel so much better, like mentally and physically. I was just like, man, let me keep going and see what happens, and like kind of wean myself off this liquor. So while I was doing that, my wife now called me and was like, "Hey, you got a minute to talk?" And I was like, "You either have something or you pregnant." And she was like, "I'm pregnant," and I was like, "All right, cool." So then the light switch really turned on, and I'm not living for myself anymore. I'm living for put my hat on, starting to sweat. I'm living for my family now, so I had to make a change, and that's when I really started pushing hard in the gym and dialing back on alcohol, and got to a point where I was like, let me see if I can just, go how long I can go without it. So I did that for about 2 years, and in between that time, I was like, man, I can help other people do this. So I got my certification, and while we was at the moving company, I was, trying to do things here and there. And then once they fired me, I was like, well, I'm not going to work for anybody else. I have my certification. Let me go find some work. And happened to walk into Frankie's Body Shop at the time, and they were nice enough to let me go in there and start this journey, man. And I'm still on it. I'm not at Frankie's anymore. I'm at Triple F now and Reach Functional Fitness. But it's been a ride, man. It's been ups and downs. It's been real good. It's been real bad. It's been pretty. It's been ugly. It's been all the things, man. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, that's I love that story. It's one of those things. Obviously, you probably would have preferred not to have to go through all those challenges. But now looking back, are you just like, man, God, thank you for putting me through this. Thank you for just breaking me down so that I can become the person that I am now.
I thank him every day. Every day. I thank him every day, man. It's because at the end of the day, those things I went through is helping me to be a better parent, being honest. I mean, for example, when they go through things, instead of just telling them like, hey, stop doing that, now I have stories to tell them, "Oh, you need to stop doing this because this is what this leads to. I've been through it. Your mama's been through it, so we I feel like it's made me a better parent, made me a better person. I see things through a different lens now. Like I'm not just tunnel vision on things. I see things from other people's perspectives because I've been those people, So it's helped me tremendously, and I do thank God every day for it because I wouldn't be who I am right
Yeah,
now if
you
I
just
didn't go
said
through it.
something very interesting. You said you see things through a different lens. And I kind of experienced something very similar where I just felt like God took me down one time and said, "Hey, here, I want to talk to you real quick," type of thing. And do you think like when you had that moment, was that the moment that you just kinda like things like opened up, like just why all of a sudden like it was but it's like it was real cloudy, all of a sudden, like God's talking to you, now things are much more clear and like, "Oh, you know what? I have this direction now."
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it wasn't ASAP for me, because I was still fighting with that stuff, man. Like I moved up here and I first thing I tried to do was go to a bar. You know what I mean? Even though I was telling myself I can't do this no more, I immediately tried to go do it. And luckily lifts wasn't running at the time. So I went to the gym instead. But I think my aha moment was whenever I was told that we was having Ezra. Whenever I found out that baby girl was coming, that was the light switch for me. It was more or less like I was saying earlier, like I'm not living for myself anymore. Like I'm bringing a baby girl into the world. My wife's bringing a baby girl into the world, and that's when it really hit me, and that's when I really did the 180. That's when it really, really.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I want to go back to what you said initially, because one of the first things you said was sports was your identity. I think so many people relate to that, and then when they lose it or, like, you never go through an injury or you transition out of that, people are really lost because they have tied their identity to that. So I'm curious, like, how what were you thinking in those moments making that transition? And, like, I guess, like, what was going on? What was the hardest part of that transition out of it for you?
Seeing myself as a failure, seeing myself as a quitter, because I didn't finish. I was always taught to finish things, and I didn't finish. So that was the biggest thing for me. But also, it was just difficult not having any more structure. Whenever you were an athlete, you got your day is very, very regimented. And I didn't have it anymore. And for some reason, I thought that it would be better not to have it. And now I'm back to that. But I think that was the biggest struggle for me was just keeping structure in my life and and staying on top of things, and because I'm waking up at 5 in the morning to go practice or to go work out before school, and then you practice until whatever time. You got homework in between there. So I mean, I never made it to the professional level, so I don't know how that works. But it was difficult just to have all that free time. It was just like, what do I do with myself? I also think that's why I fell into that pit of alcohol and depression and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like we always tend to replace identity or replace that hole with something else, whether that's good or bad. And I feel like usually I can relate to it too. It's like I replaced mine with alcohol as well until I found the gym as well. Do you feel like that party phase, like, was that your identity in that moment, or was that more of just like trying to numb yourself or escape what that like lack that you were feeling from losing the sports or feeling like a failure?
Of trying to escape, definitely trying to escape. I mean, I was avoiding calls from my mom and my daddy. I mean, I wouldn't go home for holidays. I wasn't. I missed. Golly, man, I missed so much. I missed. I saw my brother play football one time in high school. Never saw my brother play lacrosse. My other brother play lacrosse. He won a state championship. I didn't see one game. My sisters played in the band all 4 years in high school and in college. I only saw them play one time at Mississippi State, and this is just 8 years, man. And we just lost so much. Birthdays, missed them, it's just countless stuff, man. It was awful. I was just running, running from reality, being honest. Just running from having to own up to what I've been through and what I'm doing and realizing what I was doing was wrong.
It's almost like you're like running from yourself, right? It's like you're like in between the identities, like you're not quite
Yeah.
sure like who I am anymore, what am I doing? And you know you're not supposed to be here, but you're also trying to run away from this. And so that's a tough place to be in.
Another hard thing for me was not finishing school, and just dropping out, not finishing school. Now on my idea, I'm a dropout, and that was in my mind, like I'm a dropout. Like, what am I going to do? Nobody's going to hire me to do anything because I don't have any credentials, So it was a lot of different things, that talking to y'all right now is kind of making me think about it, and that was a big one for me, just not finishing school. And sometimes I still struggle with that, just not having that diploma, not having that piece of paper. Sometimes I still struggle with that, and my wife as well, So we still working through it. It's always something to work on. If we ain't working on something, we not growing, and that's all we trying to do, And if I'm growing, my family can grow, the people around me can grow, and just trying to keep surrounding myself with those people that are on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. I mean, we all have something in our life or multiple things where whether it's just something happens, an event happens, all of a sudden it just sparks it and we just get very negative or we get very down on ourselves or maybe we, experience another failure and we're like, "Oh, here we go again." I'm going to fail through this or whatever. How would you tell someone who's going through something like that, be like, "You know what? I'm a failure again," or I'm screwing up again." What would you tell them that help them to get out of that place and start seeing themselves in a more positive light?
I know it's cliche, but you are enough. You are enough, and it's hard to just tell somebody, especially because somebody has to open up to you about that stuff before you can just tell them something. They gotta be receptive to it. I had multiple people tell me that I was good enough and that I can do this and that I'm so smart and I'm all these things, but I had to believe it myself. I can say whatever I want to say to somebody, but at the end of the day, it's more about having more time with them and showing them that they are more. That's what really happened to me. Like my wife, she helped me out. I don't think she even knows it, but she helped me out tremendously with that. Just being uplifting and and telling me I'm doing a good job. So I guess what I would say to somebody that's going through something like that is that the road is not in here. You got time, you can fix it. Like don't be down on yourself. That's probably what I would say.
Yeah, one of the things that we wanna do is and I know you're the same way. We just wanna make the biggest impact and the biggest difference in as many people's lives as possible. And sometimes I feel like I get caught in the I'm just gonna kinda do my own thing and just, like, go to the gym, just stick to my plan, just stay in my lane, not really say much to other people, and just like we were saying was like, people have to open up to you, right? You're not gonna know that kinda stuff, and if you're not talking to people, if you're not getting to know their story and getting to know a lot of people, no one's gonna open up to you, and so it's like, how can I make a bigger impact if I don't get to know more people? And so, that's one thing that I'm trying to do a better job of. Tell us, like, when you're training clients or just anyone, just in general, like, how are you trying to make an impact, with the people that you meet and you train?
So my biggest thing with the people I train is helping them to understand that they can listen to their body. A lot of people think that you got to go, balls to the wall in the gym, and that's not the case. It's that's just not. I was like that when I first got back into it. I was going 7 days a week. I was in there for 2.5 hours. I was neglecting things that I didn't need to neglect. My strategy for replacement ended up being a hindrance because I was, trying to do too much. Telling people to listen to their body and that less is more. Just if you haven't lifted weights before, going 5 days a week is not a good idea. Maybe going twice, 3 times at the most is what you need to be doing. Basically, just listening to their body. Less is more, of course, and we always got tomorrow. We can always get better tomorrow. We can keep going, and that's mostly what we focus on, man. Is just building strength and uh, keeping within ourselves. I'm not a big fan of maxing or anything like that. I like to leave 2 or 3 in the tank, just that we always got room to grow.
Well, and you have that risk versus reward, right? Sometimes we gotta
Hmm.
decide, like, is this really worth it? Maybe I can lift this super heavy weight, but, what if I get hurt? Then I'm out for a while, and so you really have to weigh that.
Yep. Yep. Another thing I like to, tell my clients, and all my clients, like you were saying earlier, they mostly between 45, 70. I have a couple that's 80.
Love that.
They
I
came in here
love that.
today, actually. Yeah, it's awesome, man. They work hard, man. They work hard, and they, you know, Rich has had 2 hip replacements, and he had one before he came to me, and we were working on building muscle in his right hip before he had surgery on that one. And man, he bounced back from that. I mean, he was back squatting within 2 weeks. It was crazy, man. And I mean, like not even squatting with just his body weight. I mean, we doing goblet squats on the box, but he's still squatting and he's not like leaning to one side or anything. He's going down even. So it's awesome just to help people to understand that building muscle is so important. It's gonna make your life so much easier. It helps you with, staying healthy, not getting sick all the time. It'll help you to just do your everyday tasks, help you with your aches and pains throughout the day, or help your mental, all that stuff, man, your cognitive function, everything like that. So yeah, man. I kind of lost what I was talking about, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that you're able to work with such a wide demographic of people too, like you said, up into your age. It's so cool to see people being able to train and like you said, being able to recover from a surgery like that. Cause a lot of people they would get sidelined for weeks or months from something like that. And so with training people of that age, what does that give you perspective on that most people don't see?
Well, I'm getting all kind of knowledge from them. I'm asking them all kind of questions. They have kids my age. You know what I mean? So it's also kind of strange directing somebody that's that much older than you, and they calling you coach when he's a retired coach himself. You know what I mean? That's kind of wild, man, that they trust what I'm saying, being, 50 years older than me, and they still trust what I'm saying and they still listen to me and they see the value in it. So I mean that's really cool. And another cool thing about it is just learning from them, things that they've been through, parents and things. Like we talk about all kind of stuff throughout the session. But things that they go through as parents, things they go through as grandparents, it's just really cool to, like I was telling you earlier, to see things through a different lens and just, kind of get it from their world. And it's a blessing, man. It's real cool. It's awesome. I'm learning stuff from them all the time, man, and they help me just to continue to try new things and really know that I can push people without doing too much. Like feedback is great. I ask them between every set, how's that hip doing? How's your lower back doing? How your shoulders doing? Just trying to make sure that they're doing or feeling good while they're doing it because I'm not here to hurt them. I'm here to help. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like some of the older clients are some of the most fun, and I think part of it is just like what you said, like,
Mhm.
I'm learning just as much about life from them as they're learning from me about fitness, you know?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome, man. I know I keep saying that, but I don't really know a better word to really describe it. It's been really, really cool to be able to be trusted. It's been cool to be able to trust other people. When I moved gyms, most of the people that I trained, they were on the north side of town. I moved gyms. This is my third week being away from that other gym, and they all came with me, and that speaks volumes to me. They driving the 40 minutes I was driving to get to work on that side of town. They driving that to get to me now. Um, no, I ain't trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I think that's special. I think I must be doing something correctly if they are taking time out their day to make, an extra 40-minute drive just to come train with me for that hour. And I mean, that's basically turning that time that was, an hour and 15 minutes for them, getting home, getting to the gym and back home. Now it's taking them basically 2 hours and they're not batting an eye about it. So it's nice, man. I really enjoy it, and I can't stress enough how much God has blessed me to be doing this, man. It's been great.
It's
It's gonna get
amazing.
better. Yeah, yeah.
And I love the focus too on longevity and sustainability. And it sounds like that's a little bit contrary to initially when you went full force in the gym and that was kind of the replacement for the alcohol and everything. So I guess what shifted that perspective from more of that extreme approach to more of the balance and being in tune with your body and longevity?
I forgave myself. I didn't forgive myself for a while. I've listening to Mind Pump a lot. They talk about how a lot of people when they go through things like that and they jump in the gym, they're doing it because they hate themselves. And that's what I was doing. I was going in there going hard like that, going dripping sweat everywhere because I was like, I gotta make up for all that lost time that I had. I can't make that time up. I know that now. I didn't know that then. What happened? I was sitting there with my wife one time. We went out of town, and every time we would go out of town, I would always look up a gym to go to, and I would leave early in the morning. And one day she just said, like, I wish you would just like stay one time, and like you don't need to go to the gym every time we go out of town. And I got to thinking about it. I was like, man, I'm actually, taking 2 or 3 hours, leaving her by herself, not even in our home. We in an Airbnb or we at grandma's house or something. I'm just leaving, and I was like, I gotta calm down. This is not this deep. I need to enjoy time with my family. Like, why am I so worried about going in here and killing myself in the gym when I could be relaxing with my family for a little bit? Like, that's normal. That's okay. And I think I had to just, you know, I had that epiphany, and I really had to forgive myself for what I had been through and like me getting kicked out of school and all those years of drinking and not talking to my family. I had to just forgive myself, and once I did that, it was over. I mean, I know Jesus had already forgave me for my sins, but I didn't forgive myself for what I put other people through. So I think that's when I started to get more in tune with it and started paying more attention to the longevity of it, and making it a part of my lifestyle rather than a quick
Yeah,
fix.
that's a powerful point. I mean, when clients or when anyone decides that they need to change their patterns, their life, they need to go to the gym, they start working out, change, improve their health journey. When it's out of self hate instead of out of self love, there's never gonna be enough. They're never gonna be able to figure out where they need to be. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. You definitely have to look. Hey, I need to change because I love myself and I love the people around me, and I need to be a better place for the
Hmm.
better person for the people around me.
Yeah,
And you're
absolutely.
getting so much better results too from approaching it now. Because I imagine when you were going 7 days a week, it's like you were just burning yourself. It's like you probably weren't progressing as much. And when you pull back, and when you have your clients pull back and train 2, 3 days a week, is that's when the results start to show too.
Mhm. That's why I had my buddy. So my buddy that I moved up here with, we still best friends to this day, even though he fired me. That's my dog. I'm not gonna not be friends with him. being bad at business does not mean he's a bad friend. You feel what I mean? That's two separate things. So, we still talk about fitness and stuff. He's been training for a little bit longer than me, not training clients, but lifting. And he called me. He said, "Man, I had an epiphany." He called me last week. He said, "Man, I think I had an epiphany." I was like, "What's going on?" He was like, "I think that I've been burning myself out and I've been lifting too hard. I've been trying to, basically, lift till failure every time." And I was like, "Yeah, bro, you 37. Can't do that no more." That's for, kids in their 20s that can do all that stuff, but we can't do that anymore. And he's been doing that for 2 weeks and he feels like $1 million. I mean, I felt better. I can see myself growing more. If I want to put on muscle, if I want to, draw back a little bit, it's a lot easier to do that because I'm not all consumed in just that. I'm able to take my family time. I'm able to go to a meeting here and there. I'm able to train more clients because I'm not worried about me getting my workout in. I'm more worried about other people and the things that surround me and making, workouts fit in my schedule.
Yeah, and with the longevity component and sustainability, you obviously work with a lot of people who are at that stage where they're trying to fix problems that have been building and compounding for decades. And so, if someone's listening in their 20s, 30s right now, what are things that they're doing or not doing that are going to show up later that they can focus on now?
We gotta do warm-ups, mobility, we gotta do that. It's important because I didn't do that stuff. I ain't know nothing about it. I just went in there and started lifting, but, priming and prepping your body is so important, and you could do the same 3 or 4 movements every time, but at least, you're getting your body ready to do what you're doing. And I'm not talking about static stretching, because we do that after and, just to cool down and, relax the body. But in the beginning, we wanna do I don't want to say so much a dynamic warm up because if an athlete is listening, they think about, doing B skips and stuff like that. Now I'm more or less talking about, doing things just to wake your muscles up, like threading the needle, driving your wrist into the ground just to activate your rear delts and things like that. Getting your spine rotations in, making sure your back is a little bit loose. So most of the time when I see people tweak their back, it's not from just lifting something straight up or down. It's most of the time turning real quick. And they're like, oh, and that's why we do a lot of spine rotations. That's one that we will do every time. I don't care who it is, we gonna do that one. It doesn't matter to me if we're doing not even, doing, anything that's gonna compress your spine. I don't care. We gonna still do that because it's important to be able to move without pain, But yeah, prepping and priming is very important. I do a lot of stuff with bands, especially in the beginning of the workout, especially for my older clients. A lot of tube walking, a lot of band pull aparts, external rotations, things like that. And not working till failure, for that longevity aspect, not working till failure, leaving a couple in the tank and really working on your phases of working out, switching your phases up, not going super heavy all the time, not going, reps of 15 to 20 all the time, but mixing it all up so that we can reap the benefits in multiple areas. There's a time and a place to lift real heavy, there's a time and a place to, lift real light, there's a time and a place to do a whole bunch of stretching. It's just kind of the ebbs and flow depends on how my clients are feeling when they walk in. And I try to do a good job of, messaging them the day after they work out and seeing how they feeling and all that stuff. But I always ask when they come in, like, how you feeling today? And every once in a while you'll have somebody come in and they like, I feel like garbage today. It's been a terrible week, and they on the verge of crying, and so I'm like, you know what? Let's just go over here and we'll do some mobility things, let's work on some breathing, and then after we do that for a little while, then they're like, all right, I'm feeling better now, and then we can get to the lift. So, it's about communication for the most part, and just doing the things that I know work for me, but finding the movements that work for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wanna go back and talk about that for a minute, because I hear that a lot, especially clients that I'll see, like, that I'm not training in person at the time, they're just there working out and say, "Hey, how was your workout the other day? How's your workout going?" And when they don't feel like they're having a great workout, you can sense the feeling of failure, right? They're like, I mean, I didn't have a great workout."
Right.
"Why not?" "Well, I don't know, I wasn't as strong," or, "You know what, I was kinda tired." And I'm like, "Man, like, not every workout's gonna be the best thing in the world. The biggest thing is you showed up, regardless of what your mood was, regardless of how strong you're feeling, regardless how tired you were. You showed up, man, and that is what we're talking about, creating that identity. That's a huge win.
Absolutely. But the biggest win, you can't get better if you don't show up. You can't get better if you don't show up. Even if we walk, even if we walk around the building, just to get you outside, to get you moving if you down, that's something. We need the goal is to move every day. The goal in the lift weights and the, put myself through a hit circuit every day. The goal is to move every day. And moving is at the least is walking. And most people can do that, unless you have a handicap or something like that. Most people can get up and go walk. So I like to get people moving in that aspect. Because like you said, people gonna come in and they not gonna be feeling it. I never even realized how much food had an effect on your workouts in your day. I had no idea, until I started going through it myself. I didn't realize, like, well, my workout was bad today. Well, what I do different? And that comes with assessing, the assessing your day and all things like that. Because if you don't reflect on it and see what went differently than the day before, you can't really put those things together. But just going through those things myself and trying to be a better coach by listening more than I'm speaking. A lot of times I catch myself talking too much and I miss something. So I'm just trying to listen to what they are going through and give them what they need rather than what I want to do. Because I might have a program ready, but sometimes that program needs to be tweaked. Sometimes they're gonna walk in here, man, I did something to my ankle the other day. I don't know what's going on. Well, I guess we're not squatting today. That's cool. Let's do some ankle cars or something. Let's do something to strengthen that ankle. Let's work on some calf raises, or just something to switch it up for them, just to make sure that they know that I'm listening and I'm there for them, rather than there for myself to make myself
I
look
I
good.
love that, and you guys probably feel the same. I feel like when I was a rookie trainer, like, I wanted to prove and show off that I was the expert, and so it was constantly, like, me telling them, talking to them, and there's a big shift in my mindset and how I work with my clients now, similar to what you just said, Ben, is that we need to be doing way more listening and way more hearing what they have to say,
Hmm.
than just telling them what we need to be doing or telling them how much we know.
Because we don't know everything. We don't know everything, and of course, I like you said in the beginning, I was talking all kind of stuff. Well, this is why you do this to mess with this system and to do that. They don't know what we talking about. They don't understand that stuff, unless you went to school for anatomy and stuff. You don't really understand what I'm talking about anyway. So I mean, like when I'm explaining something, let's say I'm explaining a squat now. I'll use like the most layman term cues ever. Drop your butt. You know what I'm saying? Like, pick your head up, just like not trying to give them, what muscle to use, just give them things that make sense. And of course I can talk to some clients differently than others that are kind of well versed in the things, but for the most part, man, it's just meeting people where they are, not where I want them to be. And I think that's been one of the biggest growth points of my training career, I guess I would say, just learning to meet people where they are rather than where I think they should be, because at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know until they get in there. They might look like $1 million, but they've been out here going balls to the wall for 5 years, and now they can't lift their arm over their head. And now we're gonna take a step back and we're gonna work on this mobility. We're gonna do these wall circles. We're gonna do these handcuffs with rotation. We're gonna do stuff like that. So yeah, man, listening to them and giving them what they need rather than what I want to give them.
Yeah, the trainer that can connect the best with their clients are gonna be the one whose clients get the best results.
Mhm. And results ain't always visual. Results can be mental, results can be emotional. There are some people that might look like $1 million, but their confidence level is just terrible. And sometimes our sessions ain't so much how much we gonna lift. Sometimes our sessions is more or less, just talking lifting, but talking through the things that they're going through and like pointing out the good that they're doing rather than the bad. Because all of us, we always like to put ourselves down and tell how bad we're doing at things. I've been doing it with my wife at home the past couple weeks. Just in this transition period of being busy at one place and having to pick the pieces back up over here. So and I've been constantly being down on myself lately, and my wife's been having to pick me back up, and I feel like I'm getting coached right now. And I need it, and I don't think she knows that she's doing this, man, but she is. She's doing it for me, and it's I'm so thankful for it. And whenever I see her doing that, it helps me to realize how important it is for me to do it for other people. So, yeah, man, just uplifting people, man. That's what we here for. Yeah, we here to see y'all get better. We here to help you feel like you can do anything, you know, and you can. You know, they can do anything. You know, it's all a mindset, and I'm not talking about no David Goggins mindset or nothing, but I mean just the mindset to know that we can do this. You know, I might mess up. It's all right. We can try again. It ain't going nowhere. I failed my training test 2 times before I even got it. And I gave it up for a minute. And my wife was the one to be like, "You gonna take that test again?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I'm just gonna leave it alone." She was like, "You should do it." And I did it, man, and we've been rocking ever since. So it's confidence, man. We just trying to build people up.
I love that. We all need it. Everyone needs it. Even coaches need it, like you said. And I think a lot of the guys that we work with aren't necessarily in that extreme about like going balls to the wall. I mean, sometimes they are, or sometimes they're using things like alcohol, food, or work as a way to cope with stress, even if it's not super extreme or out of control. So, like, what do you see for like high performing men that are in that state, or how do you help them get through that and build a better balance in a relationship with those things and help manage their stress in a healthy way?
Well, teaching them to work out in the time frames that they have. So, you know, if you are a high performing, you know, professional, a lot of times you don't want to take a whole hour to go do something. A lot of times they don't want to do that. So there's ways that we can go about doing this. You know, um we can do 15 minutes a day. We can do excuse me, 2 or 3 movements a day. You know, we can shorten workouts. You know, we can go for walks in between, you know, meetings and things like that. But really and truly, the biggest thing I would say for high performing men and women really is to learn how to take a step back. It's hard to get them to take a step back because you know they feel like just going. Because a lot of high performing men and women they do that at work, and then they go to the gym and go mega hard like they would at work. Then they go home and they you know they got the kids and they taking them to all their things and they making them work real hard and then it's we gotta rest. You know, we have to rest. There's no way that we can sustain this forever, just going like that. It's going hard. So, you know, that's trying to get that point across to them is we got to slow down, man. We got to take a little bit of time, even if you 15 minutes. Like we can always build on that. You know, I try to tell them don't bite too much, too more often you can chew. I guess you could say, because you know a lot of people go, oh, I want to work out, you know, an hour a day, and they really only have 15 minutes. And you know, once they start making it a priority and then, you know, they time opens up. They're like, oh, well, I'm just doing this at this time. I can, you know, use this time to do this other thing. Just helping them to realize that they can take a step back. You allowed to do that. You, I don't think a lot of people don't understand that you can take a step back. It's not that you have to always be doing something. Like, you know, God rested for a whole 24 hours. We can at least take one. We can at least take one. You know, just I think just getting them to take a step back. And how do you communicate that? It's gonna be different for everybody. You know, some people will listen to the first thing you say. Sometimes you got to tell somebody something 50 times before they come to terms with it. But ultimately, it has to be their decision. You know, we can't make them do anything. We can lead them to water, but we can't make them drink right. But just trying to plant that seed and just communicating and just making sure that they know that they can rest and it's important to rest so that they can perform even better.
I aggressively agree with all of that. It's so good. And it's like the hardest thing that those type of people are gonna do because that's how like I speak for myself too. It's like that's what we've been doing for decades. Like that's how you've been living your life. That's what you tied your identity to is that performance. And so it feels so challenging to go against that and step into a new identity and be able to pull back and realize that it's okay. And going back to what you said too, it's like you're enough. Like it is enough to do less and take care of yourself to be able to pour into those other things. So I love that you mentioned that. And one thing I heard on a podcast the other day too that I think they articulate this really well is a lot of people are in this mindset of I need to give 100% all the time. But maybe a lot of days you're not going to have 100% to give. You may have 50 or you may have 10%. And if you're giving that 10% or that 50%, that is 100% for the day. And like
It
that is
is.
enough. Like it doesn't need to be true 100% every single day. And that's not realistic and that's never going to happen.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I heard this on another podcast, and this was like years ago. It was when me and Amy, like, I was thinking about proposing. So it was right around then, and this lady was talking about how her husband, they come into the house, and then around dinner time, before they see the kids anyway, they'll have a conversation. They're like, "All right, I'm at an 80 today," and the other person be like, "All right, well, I'm at a 20 right now. Well, I'm at an 80. I'll take that. I'll take the slack for you today. You can rest a little bit." And then it's vice versa the other day. It's kind of, just playing off each other. And like you say, you cannot give 100% every day. And sometimes, that if you give 100% of your 10%, like you were saying, you are going you're doing as much as you can. And that's fine. That's okay. You know, uh, Not many people make money every minute of the day. And it seems to me like the ones that do are low key miserable. I mean, just being for real. So I mean, it's what are we chasing at this point? What's the end goal? Like what is enough for people? What is enough for that high performing individual? And a lot of times nothing is enough. And that sucks because it just sucks, man, because it shouldn't be like that. And it's passed down. It's not like it's just something that we thought of, when we woke up, oh, I need to go real hard forever. It's not, it wasn't that. It's, something that you grew up hearing, something that you grew up seeing all the time, or something that you didn't grow up seeing. And you was like, well, I don't want to be on the opposite end of that. So I'm going to flip this and I'm going to go real hard. A lot of it is built into us from a young age. I mean, especially being athletes. I know all three of us were athletes, especially doing that. I mean, you just taught to grind, to grind, to grind. I love how much just training and sports has in recovery has just grown. There's more emphasis on the recovery aspect of things. You got cold plunges, you got the Nordic sleeves, you got the saunas now. I mean, these things are everywhere. You got sauna houses now that people go to. I mean, you would just see that stuff on movies, and now they all over the place. So it's real cool to start seeing people starting to really take care of their bodies. I'm kind of nervous though that they're gonna take this going it's gonna be an extreme. Just like how CrossFit became a super extreme. I feel like this recovery stuff is gonna end up kind of doing that as well. Most things do. But and that's when we're gonna get back to strength training again.
Yep.
I do feel like that's human nature. That's what we do. We just take everything to extreme until we realize, oh man, you know what? Hey, guess what? We overdid that.
Yep. And by the time you realize it's not too late, but it's close to it.
I mean,
You know what
even
I
though,
mean?
like, I'm loving this protein phase that we're in right now, by the way. But I saw a label on a cheese stick or something, and it said like high protein, 7 grams of protein,
Mm,
whatever. And it was like it was making it sound like it was a high protein cheese, and I was like, that's just cheese. That's all it is, man. It's the original macros.
that's all it is. Just doing it for sales, man. It's just doing it for sales. It's just the same as I wasn't into fitness then, but the Atkins diet, keto came around, everybody was on that. These shots come out, everybody's on that. I think people are starting to understand that you can't just take them and not work out with it. And that's tricky in itself, just sitting there trying to train somebody that has no appetite. You know, that's that's been difficult. So I mean it's always, challenges in this, but it's also real cool to see the ebbs and flows and see how we can make a difference in between these ebbs and flows and keep people on the right path because this stuff don't change. Trends, diets, fads and all that stuff, they change, but the meat of this isn't changing. I love that the population in general is getting uh very more accustomed to strength training and lifting weights and not like doing hit stuff. They lifting weights and they resting. And that's how we build muscle. That's how we tone up. It's not by running our asses off. It's by actually resting in between your sets. It's not about how quickly you do things. It's about how well you do things and the quality of what you're doing. So it's very important, and it's very important that we got people like y'all, in this world that's guiding people the right way.
Yeah, and want to go back to one thing you mentioned to wrap things up here. When you were talking about the high performance, you're like, you need to know why you're doing this, what really matters. And it sounds like for you, that big aha moment, like you said, yeah, there's that moment in your apartment, but it really happened when you became a father or like when you realized that you were going to become a father. So, like, what does that mean to you, fatherhood and legacy, and how has that shifted your view on health in that period and then like going forward and how you view it the rest of your life?
So when I first started lifting, I was doing it for vanity purposes. I want to look like this. I want to be jacked. I want to do all these things. And now, believe it or not, I lift weights so I can throw these kids in the pool. That's literally what it is, man. That's what it's about. And it ain't just mine. It's. I remember last summer, and this when I knew like I was an actual dad. I was at the pool last summer, man. I'm sitting there chilling, and I happened to throw my stepson. I threw him way across the pool. And then all of a sudden, you see all these little kids come lining up. It was like, "Hey, can you throw me too?" So I was throwing kids for like 30 minutes. And I mean, if I wouldn't been in the gym and I wasn't strong, I wouldn't have been able to do that, and I wouldn't be able to, bring somebody some joy. And that's mostly what it's about for me, man. Just being able to be present for my family. If my daughter wants me to run with her, I can go do that. If she wants me to get down, and we got I got them workout dice that we do now just to get them moving whenever it's cold outside, and that's warming up. We doing them outside, but just a little. We shake the dice up. It'll put a number on there, and then we got three other dice that got different movements on it, and we'll do that. It's bringing my family together. I'm trying to get my wife on it, but it's bringing my family together and just showing them that we care enough to take care of our bodies and how important it is to take care of our body because we only get one. We only have this one life, and I don't want to cut it short for them. I want to be here for as long as I can be. I want to be here for my grandkids, and maybe even my great grandkids. I don't know what God got in store, but I want to give myself a chance, and the only chance I know of doing that is to being here and taking care of myself, working out, going to see my doctor regularly, and not neglecting the things that are going to keep us going and keep us moving.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Ben, it's obvious you're an amazing father and an amazing example. And I'm not going to speak for Mackenzie, but this has been a lot of fun.
Agreed.
I appreciate it. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking too much, and then I hear y'all say stuff like this, so I appreciate it. No, I appreciate y'all
This
having
has
me
been
on,
great.
man.
This has been a fun conversation. So, and hopefully, and I think it gives people a different perspective, not just like on fitness now, but like where it's all leading and where it should go. So, we appreciate you coming on, man. So, where can people find you?
Mhm. So I'm on all social media platforms. It was Think Fitness, but I rebranded not too long ago to Be Fit Bostick Fitness. So everything is Be Fit. Facebook, Be Fit by Ben Bostick. YouTube is Be Fit. Instagram is Be Fit FKA Stank Fitness. And my website is still Stank Fitness. I haven't switched it over to Be Fit yet. I'm in the process of, changing all the colors and the logos and links and all that stuff. So, but yeah, everything else is Be Fit. My website is Stank Fitness.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know it's always a process switching things over like that. But yeah, we'll link everything in the show notes so anyone listening can go check out Ben. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share it with a friend, and we will catch you all on the next one.